Hey guys, in this video I am going to teach you how to find domain and range of a function. Okay, so domain and range is typically the hardest part of this topic that we cover. So it's very important that you find a process that works for you. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that kids have done this in the past. I'm going to use colors, and I'm also going to show you with rulers how we do this as well. So anything in red will be domain. Anything in purple will be range. Now, domain are all of the x values that are used in the graph, so that's from left to right. And range are all the possible y values used in the graph, which is bottom to top. So I'm going to go through and do all the domains first, and then we'll come back and do the range. So if you have a ruler or a couple of straight edges, any kind of thing that will work here like this, what you want to do is you want to put one ruler on the right end of the graph and one ruler on the left end of the graph. And again, when I say graph, I'm talking about, in this case, this squiggly thing here. So if you see, it stops here and here. So that's where my rulers go, right here and here. There's nothing else that matters. Okay, so I will take my red and mark off where it ends from right to left. And since I'm talking about x values, I need to know what those x values are. Well, if I look, it stops at 0 and stops at 360. And anytime you're writing these domain and ranges, they're always in the form of sandwiches. And here's what I mean by that. In this case, it's always less than or equal to x, less than or equal to for domain. Range is exactly the same, except it has y in the middle. And now what I want to do is put my left end point here, so that's 0, and my right endpoint here, which is 360. And that's it for domain. This means the graph starts at 0 on the x, or the x values start at 0 and end at 360. And all of the ones in between are being used. All right, similarly here with the next one, we're going to find the domain. Again, the graph, it is this V-shaped thing in this case. It's important to note that there are arrows at either end, because that's going to change things a little bit. So if I put my rulers at the end of the graph, I see that it's right here and right here. Those are the end spots. So again, I'm going to make less than or equal to x, less than or equal to. Now, these are my two ending spots, right? But they're both arrows, which means this one goes left forever and this one goes right forever. So we need to use a symbol that means left forever, which is in the negative direction forever. Forever would be infinity, but the negative direction makes it negative infinity. And this one goes to the right forever, which is positive forever, so it's positive infinity or just infinity. Anytime you have arrows on either ends like this, your domain is always going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. That means the graph stretches left and right forever. All right, we're going to skip over the table one for right now because that one's done a little bit differently. I want to focus on this bottom one first. So again, this is the graph here, this squiggly shape. And again, there are arrows on both ends. If I take my rulers and squeeze or push them together until I find where they stop, on the right and on the left, it would be here and here. And again, if you look, that's an arrow, that's an arrow. So again, you're going to write less than or equal to x, less than or equal to. This arrow here means left forever or negative forever, so that's negative infinity. And this arrow right here means right forever or positive forever, which is positive infinity. All right, now the table's done a little bit differently. The tables are actually much easier to do than the graphs because all you need to do is list the values. So you start by making these squiggly lines. They're called brackets. A lot of people are not very good at making these symbols here, so don't worry about it not being perfect as long as we can tell that you're putting some sort of bracket there. Now, the one thing that is important to note, domain, again, are all the x values, and you must put them in order from smallest to biggest. Now, we're lucky because these are already in order from smallest to biggest, so all I have to do is list them. So I have -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Close the bracket. And that's it for domain. All right, now let's talk about range. Now remember, range is bottom to top. So instead of going right to left with my rulers like this, I'm going to go bottom to top this way. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to start from the top and the bottom and move the ruler until you reach the lowest point of the graph, and move the ruler till you reach the highest point of the graph. So I'm going to use purple this time. There's the highest, there's the lowest. All right, now this time it's a Y sandwich, so less than or equal to Y, less than or equal to. It's always bottom to top, lowest to highest. Here's the bottom, but it's important to remember that I don't want the X values, I want the Y's. So you're gonna go all the way across until you hit the Y axis, which is at -1, and do the same thing up top, which is at 1. So the range goes from -1 to 1. Same idea here. Take your rulers, move until you hit the bottom, move until you hit the top. All right, here is the bottom, here is the top. Okay, that was not a good line that I drew here. All right, again, Y sandwich. The bottom is right here, that's at 0. And the top is up here. Now, it's important to note again, this is an arrow, which means up forever, which means infinity. So you got to have an infinity there. Again, we're going to skip down to the bottom and come back to the table here in a second. And we're going to do the same thing for this one. Here's the bottom. Here's the top. So I'll draw my bottom line first, my top line second, and then I'm going to look at them. All right, less than or equal to Y, less than or equal to. The bottom line touches right here. That again is an arrow. That means down forever, so negative infinity. This is an arrow as well, so that means up forever, which means positive infinity. So that would be the range for that graph. Now the range for the table again is pretty easy compared to the graphs. Again, you want to make the bracket and you want to put them in order from smallest to biggest, which they already are, so you just need to list them. 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. And that would be the range for the table. Again, guys, I know that domain and range can be a little bit tricky, so you just need to find a process that works for you, whether that be with colorful pens, markers, colored pencils, using the rulers, or a combination of the two, or even something else that you might come up with. You're going to have to practice a lot. Okay?